Hey, g'day again. Oh, I was really hoping to show you something a bit more finished. I've actually made a mistake, considerable mistake here. Actually, I made two of them. Just a second, because I haven't shown you the other bit in the last video. It's not, up to this point. Right, first mistake. This bottom channel. Yeah, I was so concerned about it fitting between the oil filler and the fan that I forgot to give it enough height to get over these bolt holes in the casing, and also the bolts holding the oil filler on. And originally I ground a little bit off it, but it's still, so it seemed to be only just touching, but it wasn't enough, and I can't grind any more off. So and these bend bits are too complex to change now. It's too late to change it. And it would have been quite easy to just bring it up a half-inch higher. Would have been real simple, but didn't think it out properly. But anyway, so what we've had to do, because I'd already welded it all together by the time I discovered this, and so I had to cut it off here. I should cut it off a bit further. Cut it off up here, and then I bent this bottom piece up. Did that on both sides. Cut the rest of it off. Then I made a new piece. Had to bolt it all back in, including the fan and everything, and fully weld that in. This is like without the top. This was, and I couldn't have done it with the top on anyway. I had to actually weld it on the inside because I can't access the outside. And as I said, it needed to be welded in place. You can't cut it by measurement, weld it together. It won't fit back on the engine. It has to be done in place. And even now, this is after putting this final bit on. I put this cap piece on. What I did here is I actually used the rounded edge, because this is another piece of this 75 square tube that I used on the bottom, and I cut it just below the bend, beat it, and put cuts in it, bent it, welded all that on as well, because that was able to be done off the engine, like in the Vice. But in welding that bit on, it has distorted the whole thing a little bit. What I'm having to do is this one on this side, the front one, and the rear one on the other side. I'm having to put the screwdriver in the casing and move it over, only a mil or so, in order to get the bolt in and get it started. I don't know if I mentioned before either, when I took the studs out, because I explained that in the previous video. You can't get a one piece off with studs on it. You can't have studs in there anymore. Even though studs are preferable, but I've got bolts that go right to the bottoms of the holes, and also used the thread tap. That's an 8mm, and cleaned all the thread out. Enough so that I can wind these bolts in fully by hand. And that's what I was getting to, especially with it being a little bit tight. you pull over the screw with a screwdriver and you hold it there until you've screwed this bolt, all the bolts in by hand fully. Don't be putting a spanner on it when it's only in a few threads. When there's something pushing against it, you'll chew the thread up. So anyway, getting off track. Right, so that's the first mistake, and I corrected that. Alright, as I said, I welded the whole bottom section in, the two sides and the underneath, and then I capped it later afterwards. Right, then this is the piece that obviously goes up to the carby. This is a template of the bottom of the carby, and I wasn't certain. Like, I knew the height at the back. I had the carby actually sitting on it. I tacked that in place. I had the carby sitting on it, had the carby level with the generator. Made sure I had enough clearance everywhere, because you got like high clearance here, you got to leave enough room for the air filter. And these are the brackets that held the previous air tunnel on, so I know they've got clearance on it. And I know that from this point here, where this is 75 or 3-inch downpipe, PVC downpipe, but that was only a 1/2 inch off hitting the engine cover. So, without putting the engine back in and looking for clearance, I know that when the pipe's in there, if I run that down to here, because it comes basically to where the seam is, then the cage comes out from behind it, but the engine cover comes down. It's fairly close to the generator, comes up like this. So yeah, I had to keep that in mind, because these carbies are fairly wide, and make sure I had room for it and everything. And yeah, that's a template of the base of it. The 28mm, see, I've written 28mm on there. It's upside down actually, that's why it doesn't read as 28. 28mm is how much the back of the carby sticks out. There's a pump mechanism at the back of the carby, so that stuck out 28mm, and I needed to leave 3 or 4mm clearance, so it's not going to hit the fan, and then I put a mark there. So that is basically where this was supposed to be, and it was there to begin with. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to fully weld. I could have fully welded it, Could have fully welded it from the inside, set it all up, and then welded it from the outside, but yeah, I didn't. I only put a couple of tacks because I knew I'd have to grind them off again. So, but anyway, I tacked it on, then I fully took it all off, fully welded this piece, like not this whole piece, just this back piece. And not knowing what this height would be, this is why it's longer. This is actually this back one's the height of the carby, so I'll be cutting the thickness of the flange plate off that, so it'll end up being another 10mm shorter, probably there somewhere. But I wanted to I knew this was at an angle that this piece would need to be longer than that, so that's all I did. I just made it longer than that. And I knew it was 90mm from there to there, so I've done that. And but yeah, as I said, I should have put it back on, put the fan on, set it all up, and then made these pieces, the side pieces, in place, because when I fully welded this back piece, it's moved. It's moved a lot. It's moved like 20 mil. I said it's supposed to be back where that mark is. And it's probably still got clearance for the carby. However, the other issue is that it's supposed to be 90 mil, so when I bring this down, like, level with the generator, I've only got 70. That's not enough. I've got a 90 mil opening in the carb between the two barrels on the carby. I need 90 mil in here and I don't have it. Yeah, so we're sitting here for the last 10 minutes before I started the video, contemplating what I'm going to do about it. What's the easiest way to fix it? Instead of already commenced grinding it, like I had to grind all that back off anyway. Well, looking at it now, I probably didn't. I was thinking it wouldn't fit in there with the grind without grinding it, but yeah, it would have anyway. But yeah, and oddly enough, as I said, I worked off that, and because I had it way too high, I got the measurement wrong anyway. But this place is actually in the right place, because when you bring it down to the right height, it's 20 mil short, and we're 20 mil out on the back one. So that's actually in the right place. I can leave all that. I definitely don't want to cut it off at the base, because then I've got dags and things I can't get to, and yeah, I've currently got a pretty decent weld in both sides. I've got no dags hanging through, so I don't want to interfere with that. So what I'm going to have to do, is I'm going to have to cut right down this corner, both sides, pull it out 20 mil, and then put a triangle filler in there. And yeah, when I get the base made up, I will then cut the height down and get all that set up once I've got the base made. The base is going to have it's going to be a whole lot of hassle. I'm going to do a bit different to what I did before. I'm going to go and buy a proper hole saw. Try not to spend money, because I'm already short of what I'm going to need to rebuild the engine, so didn't really want to spend any more. But yeah, I don't want to go through the hassle of cutting two holes this size and another piece of 10 mil plate. So yeah, the small ones are 32, so I'll buy a 30 mil hole saw capable of cutting through 10 mil plate, and then I'll only have to die grind the bigger one. But yeah, so that's where I'm up to. A bit disappointing. Yeah, so I said there's two major mistakes, two things that took a whole lot of effort because I didn't think it out properly. Oh, the bottom one I didn't think out properly. This base I didn't think it out properly. This bit is a result of laziness, and the laziness is now going to cost me twice as much effort because I've got to do it again. So yeah, after I fully welded that back piece, I should put it all back on and then made up the sides. So yeah, laziness doesn't always work. Actually, quite a lot of the times it doesn't work either. What I did manage to do just get it pretty much in the middle. If you're not familiar with Volkswagens, this is the middle where the two cases join. That's the centre. Don't know if it matters, but like the original's not the centre anyway. It's out by 2 inches. It's 2 inches to one side. But so that's probably touching there. That could be part of why I couldn't get the bolts into the head. Well, it wasn't lining up properly. I have to look into that. If it's probably just the excess weld, but yeah, if the whole of it is actually touching, I can take a little bit off this. When this mount, you could take the corner off it. You could take a couple of mils off that without affecting it in any way. So anyway, what I was getting to, you can see all the holes in the fan. This is where your cable rod goes through. Cable goes through a bit of tube. I think that was the original one. Don't know what that hole was for, but I had it covered up anyway. This up here is where I'd rerun the tube. I actually welded a bit of bent tube onto the back of it so that I could run it up for the Stromberg that I had on it. And it was working alright, but it did put, just a little bit of drag on it. And of course that little bit of drag is wearing the cable as well, so. And like this, the linkage, the throttle is going to be right up here on this other carby, so there's no way I could run the cable up there anyway, so I'll be running it through here, and I'm going to make a linkage now. Make a piece to engage the cable, another piece going out like a lever, and then a rod going up to the carby, so there'll be a linkage, and it's a fairly simple process. And I'll show you that when we get to it. Alright, there's another ramble on for you. So, thanks for watching, and hopefully we'll see you again. Bye.